One of the things that I've been doing over the holidays is I've been watching survival shows, and I've learned two things. Number one, you're gonna learn a lot about how to drama, and number two, you're gonna learn how to kill yourself a little bit more efficiently. Do you want premium ad-free content? Duh. Content that's not censored by big tech, of course. Well, with SD Insider, you can get behind the scenes and a whole lot more. Link in the description. Let's do some common sense survival today. All right, so let's do a quick sit rep. Right now, I have a pretty light pack. It's only 16 pounds. I do have some quality gear, but I have absolutely no water and I have absolutely no food. I also don't have what I would consider a bomb-proof compass as well, but I got something planned for that a little bit later on. Right now, the temperature is in the low 50s and it's actually pretty windy. There's a front coming in. It's supposed to drop down into the low 30s and rain. Right now I am headed downhill because water is going to be a very high priority for me where it's the winter time, right? And a lot of people don't focus on that. They don't realize that water, being hydrated, actually helps you to thermoregulate. And I think far too often that gets overlooked. In the wintertime, your blood vessels are constricting when you're cold. And that's your body's defense mechanism, is trying to get rid of as much water as it possibly can so it has less to heat up. That's why you have to pee like a racehorse in the winter. And that's why hydrating is so important. Being that we don't have water right now, we need to get to a water source, and my best course of action is to go downhill. But I just came across all of this privet and kudzu that's right in front of me, and that is a perfect place for hogs. And if I was hog hunting, I would be all over it, but it looks like we may actually have to go around it. That really sucks. Sometimes even when you're going downhill, you're still gonna run into problems and you're gonna have to shuck and jive on the fly. Be flexible and adaptable. I'm a hunter. I just couldn't help myself. We're gonna crawl a little bit through here just because, well, I want to. Wow, this is really nasty in here. God, why do I do these things? Well, we definitely know the deer are traveling through here. And if there were deer in here right now, we have definitely scared them away because there's no way to get through this efficiently without making noise. So as far as sound discipline goes, this was a poor choice. I'm trying to think of a good reason to tell y'all why I did this, but the truth is there ain't. This was just a poor decision. And I'm just being honest with you. Oh, this is horrible. This is worse than going through mangroves. I'm moving at -2 miles an hour. And one thing that I'm trying to tell y'all right now as far as survival protocol goes is most of the time the shows, they don't focus on calorie conservation. You are at your best at the start of an adventure like this. And so it's really important to stop, think, observe, plan, and make smart decisions. Now, alternatively, this would be a great place to, hide if you were being pursued. So, there's pros and cons to every approach. Just thought I would mention that. But right now, it makes absolutely zero sense other than, showing y'all what not to do. That is nasty right there. What we should do is get out of here. We're gonna go up and around. Now, this is gonna be a little bit better. We are on the side of a hill, so we're gonna have to be sure with our footing, but it is nowhere near as bad as what we were just doing. Oh, and it looks like it opens up down there. Sweet. Okay, I'm glad to be out of that stuff. Another thing that I wanna talk about is food, because I did see 2 deer earlier, and a lot of people would say, well, why didn't you shoot the deer? Like, that's, possum mentality. You should have taken the deer while it was there. Number one, I am not set up to process a deer right now, and I definitely would not want to have pulled a deer through what I just went through. I do not have a way to smoke the deer to preserve the meat right this second. And number two, I have no water. You need water to process proteins like that. And I don't have any water right now. So that's just not smart. So sometimes it's about learning how to balance your priorities while you're out here. I just heard something grunt at me. I bet it was that buck. I've seen some rubs around here. So he's definitely stomping around in here. There's one right there. And I might as well just show y'all. What the heck. All right there. There's another rub right there. It's an active rub too. That means that there's another one right here. All right, so this buck is definitely hanging out in this area, and that's good for us, right? We know where food is. But there's something else that I want to point out, and that is the subject of, oh my God, I found, God gave me this shelter right over here. Look at all these downed trees, and you've got these big root balls, right, that have come up, and they leave depressions in the ground. And a lot of people say, oh my God, you know, this is like perfect. You know, you've got food here, you've got lots of down trees right here. The water is right down there. I think I can show y'all. There's a creek bed right there. And the problem with that is, yeah, you've got all these resources in one spot, but this is definitely not a good spot to camp because number one, we're down in a bottom and it is gonna get really cold down here tonight. And number two, you don't wanna be that close to water. So what we're gonna end up having to do is we're gonna get our water and then we are going to head back up on the ridge. You wanna be about a third of the way from the top and about 2/3 of the way from the bottom. Now, as we head down to the water, I also want to talk about my choices in clothing right now. All I'm wearing is one base layer, and then I have on a t-shirt and my pants. And I don't have anything else on. And the reason for that is because my body is producing the heat as I move around. My mid layers and my barrier layer are in the pack. I typically try to move I try to start out being cold. And then that way I can manage my level of sweat when I'm moving. The last thing you want to do in a situation like this is move and start sweating a lot. And speaking of sweating, I guess I need to talk a little bit about your footwear as well, because I'm wearing wool socks right now. And I always try to tell people I prefer wool socks and wool underwear. That should be high on the priority list for you. But another thing that people don't often talk about is your footwear. If you are tying your shoes really tight, you're cutting off the circulation, and that is going to cause you to, number one, be cold because it's restricting circulation, and number two, your feet, if they start sweating real bad, you're going to get even colder. And if you're wearing waterproof shoes, what holds water out will also hold water in. What I typically do is I wear wool socks, and then I wear shoes that will get rid of water really fast. They'll shed water really fast. That's what I'm looking for in footwear. And just in case someone asks, I wear Zeros. Today I'm wearing Mesa Trails. There you go, Mesa Trails. And I'm wearing Darn Tough socks. All right, so I found this creek down here in the bottom, and there's nice flowing water. The water is relatively clear. I like that, but that doesn't mean that it's safe to drink. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna put my pack down, I'm gonna get my container, and we're gonna worry about processing it a little bit later. All right, so here's my water kit. There's my carrier and my stainless steel nesting cup. And then here is my pre-filter that goes with the kit. And here is my empty stainless steel water bottle. Man, there is nothing in there. Now, a lot of people are gonna be like, okay, Jay, you've got a stainless steel container, but where's your Grail? You always have a Grail with you because you can filter and purify the water in under 10 seconds. Why don't you have that? And the reason is because it's winter. It's supposed to get down into freezing temperatures tonight, And Grail does say, to their credit, they say that you can freeze that filter 3 times and still use it. But the question is, do you want to take that kind of chance? Now, I have done videos in the past where I told you, yes, take the chance, because we can always pump you full of antibiotics and drugs later. But we are not in a situation right now where we have to do that. Right now, the name of the game is to stay safe. All right, let's go ahead and get this filter saturated with water so it'll work a little bit faster. And let's go ahead and filter some water into our canteen. Now that's just going to take the turbidity out of the water. It's in no way filtering out cryptosporidium or giardia or heavy chemicals, metals, pesticides, insecticides, etc. We're just taking out the stuff that we can see. A lot of people may not have a filter like this one. You could always use your bandana or a shamog, even your sock, whatever you've got. You don't have to have a fancy filter like this, but you can notice, I mean, look at how clear that water is. You know, we're not drinking directly from a spring. We don't know what's up there. It could be a dead animal or an animal just went to the bathroom. And now that we're done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and squeeze this out. We're gonna get back on the hoof. Ow, ow. Now at this point, a lot of people will chemically treat their water, and that's good. As long as you realize that most chemical treatments take 4 hours to kill cryptosporidium. So make sure you check the manufacturer's directions before you wait 45 minutes, drink it, and then spend a couple weeks having diarrhea. Okay, now we can start going back up the hill, up the hill, up the hill, up the hill, up the hill. It's important just to take your time, try not to sweat. So every now and then, just take a breather and then continue on. God, I hate hills. Now, I don't know if y'all can tell or not, but we are about 2/3 of the way up this ridge. And what I want to do is I want to traverse at this level from the hillside right here. I think you can see the valley over there and the other hilltop there. But what we want to do is we want to be at this height on this hillside. And so what we're going to do is we're going to walk that way and try to find a suitable place for us to camp out. Now, as I was walking, I started to notice all of these scratch areas all over the ground. And what that means is that there are more than likely turkey that are around here that are scratching on this hillside, and that's good news for us as far as food goes. But you always need to be aware of stuff like that. Now, one thing I have noticed is that right now the alarms of the forest, the birds, the tree rats, you know, the squirrels, they're not doing anything right now, and the wind is starting to really pick up. And what that means is that we need to hurry up and get this shelter built, because I can feel the temperature is dropping, and right now we don't have that much daylight left, so we need to kind of get on it right now. Coming out of some really nasty privet and low-lying brush, and we're getting into some open hardwoods. I don't know if you can see how steep it is. It's pretty steep out here, but the water is approximately, I don't know, maybe 150 yards away from us, and I'm starting to come across these little flat areas right here, and that's good for us because finding a flat spot, you know, on a hillside is pretty difficult to find. And I think I see one spot over there that we're gonna go to. So let's walk over here and see if it's gonna work out for us or not. Great, more thorns. Ugh. Yeah, right here. This is a good spot for us. I'm liking this. There are some thorns around here. We have a really good vantage point right here. And a lot of people are gonna ask, well, why do you wanna do the 1/3 from the top and 2/3 from the bottom thing? Well, let's say that we had a threat target that was down at the bottom, right? Number one, they would have to work twice as hard to get to where we are right now. And it's easy for us to egress up another third of the way. Now, if somebody was coming behind us, we have the advantage of going side to side, or we have the advantage of going back downhill as well. Not to mention, if you were at the top, you could get silhouetted. Down here, we also have a better vantage point for seeing game. Just below me, about 50 yards or so, there's a rub line that goes all the way across this ridge right here. So as far as passive hunting goes, I mean, we're right here. If we happen to see a deer, you know, passing us right there, I mean, we've got the high ground. I can go ahead and put on my wool hoodie. It's important to go ahead and stay ahead of the cold. We're at our shelter site, and yeah, I'm warm from coming up the hill, but I want to make sure I stay ahead of it. So I'm going to go ahead and put on at least one layer, and if it gets any colder, then I've got other options as well. Now, another thing that I want to point out is there are no widowmakers above me. I don't have to worry about that. As far as the wind goes, yeah, we're in the forest. There is a slight breeze going on. You can see by the vegetation that's right in front of us that the wind is blowing, but I don't have to worry about it quite as much, you know, if I was exposed. So there is a breakup of the wind, but I can tell you this right now, the wind is pretty strong. So that's something that we need to be aware of. Also, as far as water goes, I don't know if y'all can see that or not, but way down there, let's see if I can find it. Way down there is water, and like I said, you want to be, you know, you don't want to camp right on the water, but you want to be close to water. And then the last thing to worry about is wigglers, wrigglers, you know, all the stuff that could crawl into bed with you, like a snake, scorpions, ants, spiders, etc. Well, right now it is so cold, I'm not worried about it. So we're good there. Now, one of my favorite pieces of kit is the MMS bivy. This thing is just awesome, and it's one of those things that you really can't beat it. It's made out of Gore-Tex, as you can see right there, and this thing is waterproof. Now, if you were, you know, in a pinch, you could just get straight into this thing, but you know, we're gonna church it up a little bit because we can afford to do that right now. So I've used this thing for years, decades, and I absolutely love it. I just can't find anything out there on the market that beats the MMS bivy itself. It's just the best one out there. Now, another piece of kit that I use quite frequently is one of these closed foam cell pads. This is just a military issue one. If you've been following the channel, I got this recently when I was doing a military depot survival challenge, and I took a full-size one and I cut it down. And what I did before I got this was I took a standard mat and I cut it out in the shape of the bivy. And the reason that I did that is because they're so thin, right? I can put it inside the bivy with me, and I don't have to worry about me sliding off of the mat in the middle of the night. Now, a lot of people, you know, they prefer the blow up style, but after I used this the last time, I really liked it. There's no chance of it failing, right? I come out of a technical rescue background, and we weren't allowed to use the blow up pads, and I don't have anything against them. They're extremely comfortable. It's just in rescue, there was no room for error. You know, you did not want to fail if you were treating somebody for hypothermia. And so I've just always used the closed foam cell pads because they work. And why would you change something, you know, when it works? They're inexpensive, they're lightweight, they're easy to carry, and I've never had a failure with one. So in this case, I'm going to take the smaller one, I'm going to stick it inside of the bivy, and it's just large enough to support my core, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. Now, the next piece of kit that I'm going to use is my jungle bag by Snugpak. And this thing is rated down to, I want to say a comfort rating of 46 or something like that. And then a survival rating down into the 30s, low 30s. This has been a great piece of kit. I absolutely love it. It fits inside of this just like the patrol bag would, inside this MMS bag. And I find that I can raise that temperature rating by a good bit just by adding this lightweight bag, jungle bag, to this MMS bivy. And I've been down, you know, below 32, below freezing, and I've been just fine. Just having a pad underneath me, the Snugpak, and then having the MMS bag. And it's just a really lightweight system, and the system overall is really inexpensive. And if I just don't need to spend the money again, I'm just not gonna. This stuff has worked for years and years and years for me, and so I just don't see the need to change. One thing that I love about the MMS is it is modular. And you know, the patrol bag and the cold weather bag, they're great bags. I used that system for many years, but it is kind of bulky. You know, it's a lot for you to have to carry around. And we just don't need it right now. And so I'm gonna use the bivy bag because it's Gore-Tex and it works really well. It also breathes, and so does the Snugpak, the jungle bag. It is water resistant, and it breathes really well too. If you get one of those SOL bivy bags, you know, like the small emergency ones, I just find that they trap moisture when you're trying to sleep, and you can get really cold. And there's something that I learned from Bear Grylls, actually. They have a saying over there in Britain that one underneath is worth two on top. And the reason that they say that is because of conduction. The ground will just rob the heat from you. And so a lot of people are going to say, well, why didn't you pile up a bunch of leaves here? Well, I don't need to with this particular system that I've got right now. I know that I'm going to be okay because I have experience with it. But something that I'm going to add to it is a barrier layer. So I'm going to go ahead and show y'all what I'm going to do with this. So inside of my bag, I carry one of these military grade Mylar blankets, you know, that's reflective. And these things are great. One thing that's really awesome about them is they are extremely tough. Like, they'll last a long time. And being an instructor, I'm out here all the time. Little bitty, you know, survival blankets, Mylar blankets. I mean, I would go through 100 of those in a year, whereas I've had this one for, I don't know, many years. And once again, you know, it's lightweight. It folds up nice into the pack. It doesn't take up a lot of extra space. And this is going to make a really nice barrier layer for me underneath my current system. I'm going to go ahead and slide that out of the way, and I'm going to put this down. And this is going to provide a barrier layer in between me and the ground. And, you know, a lot of people would say, well, put the reflective side up, you know, so it reflects some of the heat back to you. In this particular case, what's of more value is the actual barrier layer from the moisture itself. And so I'm just gonna slip this back on top here, just like this. And now I just have a little bit of extra protection against conduction. Now, I have slept in it in this configuration a lot, but there is supposed to be rain coming in the forecast. And so an extra layer of protection that you could do is you could take your rain poncho. I don't want to lose that. Put that right there. And I've got a Helicon Tex poncho, and what you could do is you could spread it out over your shelter. It's a oversized poncho. And what we could do is we could stake it all the way around. And then what we could do is we could gooseneck this. We could spin this around, gooseneck it over. We could wrap this around. We could tie a clove hitch, and we could pull this up, and that would be a great shelter if we were just trying not to be seen. But in this particular case, we're not running from anybody. This is not a SEER or an SHTF scenario. With rain coming, I think it would probably be best if I put up a forester's tent. I think that would just be something cool to show y'all. I'm in limited space though. I don't know if I can make it happen. Yeah, I'm gonna try. We're gonna try to put up a forester's tent. I just think it would be super cool. So let's do that instead. We're gonna see if I can make a forester's tent out of a tarp. The tarp is a 3 meter DD tarp. And I've had this tarp for a long time. It's just been an excellent tarp for me. It's my favorite tarp. I like working with square tarps over rectangles. They're just easier to work with. I'm gonna see if I can lay this thing out. Now we can put our bag inside. Let's check this out now. There it is right there. There's the entrance. There's where we're gonna sleep. There's our bag. We had the shemagh at the top so we didn't poke a hole through it. This is an awesome setup. Yes, it was worth the extra effort. I've never put one in this tight of a quarters before. But I'm really loving the drainage right here on this slope. The water's gonna come and it's gonna start dripping actually on this hill that goes down. So I'm pretty excited. Yeah, I am really excited about this. Now, one thing that I can say for sure, I mean, that I have noticed immediately is how much warmer it is. It is way warmer in here than it is outside. Now, an advantage to having a setup like this is you can easily get 2 people in here. I mean, no problem, with their gear. And here's my view from inside. As you can see, I've got plenty of room over here, room for my pack. This is where it's at. This is the cat's meow, baby. This is Gucci camping for me. It may not be for some of you, but for me, oh yeah, I'm loving it. All right, it's a little bit colder out here than it was in the tent. Matter of fact, it's significantly colder being in the wind because of the convection. I can feel the heat just leaving me right now. But I wanted to share something with you. I think it's really important to give credit due where it's due. And you know, we as instructors, we learn little bitty things from each other. Like for example, I was with Alan Kay. We did a bug out class. Me and him partnered up and we had about 20 students. And while we were out there, I have always carried a solo stove because I just think it's an incredible tool to have. And in this class, it was a bug out class that was put on by Joshua Inyart, and we were just there to help instruct. And one of the little bitty things that I learned from Alan is in his solo stove, he had a spirit burner, an alcohol stove, and he would take his bandana and he would insulate it inside of the solo stove. And as far as noise and sound discipline goes, it really doesn't get any better than that because it's not, you know, rattling around in there. And that's just a little trick that I picked up from him. And, you know, something that we both agreed on is the solo stove is just an incredible tool, right? By itself, alone, without having an alcohol burner. But one thing that was really nice, we had gone, I think it was like 12 miles that day. And instead of us having to dig a Dakota fire pit like a lot of the students were having to do, we had our solo stoves. But you know, he was like, screw it, Jay. Let's just go ahead and light off our alcohol burner here, which he was carrying. I didn't have one at the time. And I mean, we boiled our water in like 5 to 10 minutes and we were done. And that was just, I cannot tell you, just that little bitty thing right there, having a backup after you're super tired. It was just incredible. You know, it's just a little bitty thing, but it's little bitty things like that in survival that really matter. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys today. And so I'm gonna go ahead and take the time to boil my water with my spirit burner. And I want to thank Alan Kay for just that little tidbit of information, because now I can share it with y'all. All right, and here we go. Oh yeah. You can't even hardly see it. Plus you can warm your hands up while you're sitting here waiting on your water to boil. I'm telling you, it doesn't really get much better than this. This is awesome. Like, this is definitely something that you should put in your packs for sure. I guarantee you. I have done a lot of this, and when you're really tired, just to be able to strike your ferro rod, put your water on there and boil it. Thanks, Alan. And while we're waiting on that to boil, let's see if we can find some chestnuts here. Oh yeah, there we go. Right there. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, we're gonna eat good tonight. All right, the battery on my mic just died, so I hope you can hear me. Here's another little trick for you. I'm gonna take my bandana, the water is boiling, and I'm just going to simply lift it off and set it off to the side. And I'm gonna take the top to the spirit burner, and I'm gonna put it in here, and I'm gonna extinguish the flame. And pretty soon we're gonna be able to hydrate. So the camera died right after the mic died, and I went ahead and charged the camera back up so I could, you know, say goodnight to you guys. What I did while I was waiting for it to charge, I went ahead and drank the water that I had, ran back down to the creek, boiled another liter of water, mainly just so that I could have water tomorrow morning. Plus I can use it now that it's warm. I can stick it inside of my sleeping bag, and I can go ahead and be warming that up for when I get in there. I'm feeling really good about today so far. Shelter, water, fire, and we did get a little bit of food. It wasn't the best in the world. I mean, we were actually kind of lucky to get any chestnuts this late into the season. The majority of what I saw had already been ransacked by the squirrels. Oh yeah, I also gathered up some tinder and some kindling just in case I had to start an emergency fire. I'm also gonna change my socks. I'm going to take the socks off because I did get a little wet down in the creek, and I'm gonna go ahead and wring them out, take my shoes off, put everything in the bottom of the bag, and let some of that heat try to dry it out tonight. And I'm gonna put on my fresh socks that I have in the bag. And yeah, I think everything's gonna be good tonight. So I'll see y'all in the morning.
You know what they don't talk about on survival shows? It's when you have to pee like a racehorse, and how difficult it is to put your shoes on when you've got to pee. Ugh. Ugh. Why is it that when I get back in the bag now I have to poop? Thank God for warm wet wipes in my pocket, because there is nothing to wipe your butt with out here. These are the things they just don't show you. Dang it, I'm gonna have to get up. I dropped the bushcrafters off in the bush. I changed my socks, which were dry, and it looks like rain today, which means there's some chores we have to do, and I'm sick of this wind. I hate the wind more than anything else. I hate the wind. This is a great morning for deer to run. If the wind would stop.
Now, one of the things that I did last night was I gathered up some bark and I made sure to put it in my pocket while I was sleeping so it would dry out. And I also put some sticks from a poplar in the wind so that they would dry out. And that way I know for sure that when the rain comes, we can start a fire in our solo stove. Improvising a compass is something that you commonly see on survival shows. So today is a perfect day. We can't see the sun, so I figured we'd test one out. So in order to do this, I'm gonna get some stuff out of my cache cap. Number one, I've got a compass so that we can verify that it works. The most important thing is gonna be a magnetized needle that I've got out of my toolkit. And then the next thing that we're gonna need is 2 fire plugs. Next thing you're gonna need is an improvised container. Here's some bamboo, and then some water so we can float the needle. Now we're gonna stick the needle through the top of the first fire plug. Then we're gonna take the needle and stick it through the other fire plug. Then we're gonna take our bamboo container and we're gonna put it on a flat surface. Pour some water into the bamboo. Now we can take our needle and pontoons and put them in the water, and you can watch it start to stabilize. And eventually what you're gonna see is that it stops. And this one is in fact in a north-south direction. Now let's say you don't have the fire plugs, you can also use a leaf. And as you can see, you get the same result. And what do you know? Improvising a compass in the field actually works. Now you got to give credit due where it's due. I learned about the pontoon idea from my good friend Jason Salyer at Georgia Bushcraft last year. So thanks, Jason. Now we can take the contents of our compass, we can stick them back in our cache cap, secure it, and anytime we need a compass, we're good to go. I think a lot of times as instructors, we tend to focus on the things you need to do when you're not prepared because most people, well, they aren't. I think it's a good idea to show people what to do when they are prepared. So here's another tip, trick, or hack that might just help you out. So you're gonna need a lighter, a solo stove, an emergency candle, and your canteen. Light the candle, now put it in your stove. Now put your water bottle on top. What's gonna happen is the bottle with the water is gonna capture the energy from the candle. And over time, as it heats up, it will start radiating some of that energy. Now, if you choose to put this in your shelter, you have to watch it the entire time. The last thing you want to do is knock it over and start a fire inside your emergency shelter. Now, emergency candles like this, they typically last somewhere between 4 and 8 hours. Now, after the candle burns out, what you can do is you can take the cap, put it back on the bottle, and while it's warm, you can throw it into your sleeping bag with you, and it will continue to keep you warm. And in a pinch, if you couldn't boil the water, you're actually pasteurizing the water, which lessens the likelihood of you getting sick. You're welcome. Okay, now the next thing that I'm thinking about is how to improve our situation. What I'm thinking about now is going for a walk and trying to find the correct materials so that I can build some passive traps. Having a source of protein is really important when it comes to survival. It's going to give you the energy to do the things that you need to do. The next thing that we need to think about is signaling. What would we do if we couldn't self-rescue? Now, when it comes to signaling, you need 2 things. You need high contrast and movement. And there's also 2 different types of signaling, audible and visual. Now in my kit, I do have that hunter orange shemagh, which we could easily fashion into a flag. Now you have contrast and you also have movement. I do have my emergency whistle on my watch, and I also keep a Wazoo signal mirror inside my cache belt. You also have signaling during the day and you also have signaling at night. So in my pocket, I've got my flashlight, and at night with the right kind of light, this X will actually glow, signaling for rescue at about 100 yards to the naked eye. Now besides that, I did find some tires on the side of that hillside that we came up. If we had to, we could get some more material together and we could create a signal fire and make some black smoke. Of course, you've got to find the right spot to do all this in too, to make sure that you have the highest visibility possible. Now, right now, I'm fine. I don't have any injuries. I don't need to signal for rescue, but if I did have to, we definitely can make that happen. Okay, so I've secured everything inside of the shelter just in case it starts raining. And the last thing that I want to do is I want to go to the top of the ridge so we can look to see if we can find some more resources before it starts raining. So what are y'all thinking about this style of video? Are y'all honey smack digging? Let me know in the comments. God, I hate hills. Wait a minute. Looks like I see some trash up there. Let's go check it out. Well, first thing I found was a jar, which if we didn't have a container, we could use it. This one's been burnt, actually. It's a pretty cool shape. And then there's another bottle, which we could use. There's what I was seeing from the bottom, which, oh, wait a minute. Whoa, no way. Oh man, how did this get here? Holy cow. Oh man. Oh wow. That's in good shape too. Oh, we are definitely taking that back. Man, I could have used that last night. What a score. Oh yeah. Put that over there. What else we got in here? There's a container. Looks like, yeah, Maxwell House. Containers are super important in survival, and this one's actually in pretty good shape, so we could use that. Another bottle, another coffee container. I feel like playing some hoops. There is some cordage, a net. We could definitely use that net. Trying to figure out what we could use this for other than burning it in a signal fire. Here's a container. It looks like it's split. Oh, how about a chair? Maybe something we could use there. I don't know. Let's see. What is this? Huh. I wonder what they were using this for. Well, at least it's dry. And it is a container, so we could use that. What else is here? Oh, it looks like another cooler or something. Oh man, I feel drops of rain. Dang it, we're running out of time. But man, I will definitely take this. Oh yeah, this and this are definitely coming back. All right, let's get back. It's starting to rain. Okay, throw that in there. Go ahead and put that in there. And now we can crawl ourselves in. Put this under here, maybe. Oh, come to daddy. This is where the magic happens now. Oh yeah. Man, talk about a boost. Man, I could have used that last night, but that's okay. I'll take it today. Most of the time on survival shows, you see them find all this stuff where you're like, there is no way somebody left that behind. But in this case, it's righteous. That is the bomb, son. So worth the effort to go tracking around. I went ahead and put on my barrier layer because it keeps pissing on me, but then it stops. It seems that when you're prepared, nothing happens. And when you're not, well. So instead of closing to the sounds of rain hitting our forester's tent and the comfort of our shelter, we're gonna have to do it just like this. So what are your thoughts on survival shows? Do you think they are more real than they are fake? Do you think there's more drama than there needs to be? I would like to know in the comment section if you prefer, survival when you're not prepared or survival when you are prepared. So if you want to see more content like this, then let me know in the comment section. If not, leave me a snide remark. If you don't want to do that, bye.